In this video, I'd like to talk about the growth and underinvestment with a drifting standard archetype. This archetype is essentially the same as the growth and underinvestment archetype, though it has one very annoying addition, and that's this delay from the growth inhibitor to the standard. What it is it's the growth and underinvestment archetype with a drifting goals archetype grafted onto it. And what makes it even worse is that the way that it's grafted on, if you go from standard to perceived need to delay to inhibitor avoidance back to growth inhibitor through the delay to standard, what you have here is a vicious reinforcing loop, so that because of the delay the length of time that it takes for inhibitor avoidance to come into play, the growth inhibitor causes the standard to decrease, and the more that the standard decreases, the more that it will cause the standard to decrease. So it's a vicious rundown. What happens is if you decrease the standard, it simply ensures that you will end up decreasing the standard more and more, and the end result will be pretty much abysmal. Now the stock and flow simulation version of this, which you should be quite used to seeing, is quite straightforward. This is the balancing loop R1 with the growth inhibitor and the inhibitor avoidance, and here is that new piece, the R4 piece, to reduce the standard. And I've added an action factor, a need factor, and an inhibitor factor just to control the rates of action to be able to interact with the model and alter things to get a better sense of the implications of the relationships. So we run this with just the R1 reinforcing loop. It shows the characteristic exponential growth pattern, and it grows quite large to 40 in the 10-day period. The reason that the result is smaller than it would be is because the action factor is only 0.5 as opposed to 1. So it's throttling back the result of this reinforcing structure. Now, if we go ahead and allow there to be a growth inhibitor, notice that the standard begins to decline almost immediately, and the growth inhibitor curve, this one, continues to grow in an exponential manner the same way the result does, and the result of this structure at this point is significantly less than it was without the growth inhibitor in. Now, if we go ahead and begin this with an initial inhibitor avoidance, note that the inhibitor avoidance continues to grow over time. The result provides an initial exponential growth, and then it becomes relatively linear as the growth inhibitor continues to offset the inhibitor avoidance. But right here at this point, when the transitions so that the standard does finally begin to slip, notice that that's when this transitions from being an exponential growth to a linear growth, because the growth inhibitor is coming into play and having an impact on it. So while this result over the same time period is significantly greater than it was without the inhibitor avoidance, it's not nearly what it was with just the reinforcing loop itself. So the strategy for this scenario, for this structure, is pretty much the same as it was for the growth and underinvestment structure, in that you need to realize what the structure is that's in place, and if at all possible, begin to develop the inhibitor avoidance before you actually undertake the growth itself, and realize that by the nature of this vicious reinforcing loop, that if you allow the standard to slip, it will continue to slip, and it will cause a rapid decline in the overall result. So I would encourage you to access this model and interact with the simulation, change the various parameters here on the configuration panel and run the simulation and do it until you begin to feel a level of comfort with this archetype. And so you understand how it behaves. So hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.